This is a continuation of lesson 2. We are now going to be looking at customizing a sequence preset. So just like before, we're going to make a new sequence. We're going to come down here to new item, choose sequence, and your sequence presets come up. And it again wants us to choose the DSLR 1080p 30 frame preset. At the top, then we want to choose settings, and we're going to make some modifications. So as I talked about in the last video, you see this time base of 29.976 frames per second, and that is with the TV settings. However, they're now saying that this here sequence is intended only for online distribution. So we want to actually change the frame rate, and you can choose here to round it up to a solid 30 frames per second. And that's going to accurately measure playback speed for the internet stuff. All right. You can also see some settings down here cannot be configured, and they're going to be based off of what you've optimized for that media type based on the preset sequences you've chosen. So some things, when you can click on them, can be changed. You can make adjustments, and others cannot. Down here, you can see, since we already have sequence 1, this has now become sequence 2, and that was the only change it wanted us to do. And we're going to click OK. So now we have created 2 timeline sequences, sequence 1, sequence 2. The only difference to these is this one is still going at 29.97 frames per second, and then this one is 30 frames per second. So again, it's really important knowing who your client is and what type of settings they want. I believe you can still use the 29.97 for internet. YouTube, when you put stuff there, it kind of does its own little compression or conversion as it's putting it up. That's why it takes so long for those videos to process. It also is processing through both the SD and HD versions. And the reason for that is, I think, because people don't have strong internet connections sometimes, it will give you the option to play a lower res because it would load faster and also use less data, I believe. All right, we're also going to be looking at audio tracks. And one of the things that you can do is you can add video and audio tracks to your sequence. As you can see here, we have 3 video tracks, V1, V2, V3, and 3 audio tracks, A1, A2, and A3. You can actually go in and modify some of that. So when you're going to a new sequence, you can come up here to the Tracks tab, and you can pre-select. You can come in here and change this from 3 up to 99 tracks, it says, or just 1. Usually 3 is a good starting point. You can always come in and you can add them directly from the timeline, or you can remove them from the timeline as well. So by doing that, you have control over how many you have. With audio, you can see right now it has 3 audio tracks. The one thing that you can't change once it's set up is the type of setting here that this has. So you can't go back in and change this one. So you need to be able to pick stereo, 5.1, multi-channel, or mono. And we get into more of that later on as well. Right now the book is telling us to choose stereo. And what that means is it's going to mix all 3 of these tracks. So if I used audio 1 for my dialogue, audio 2 for my music, and maybe audio 3 for sound effects, it would play all 3 of them together, and it would mix it as one stereo track for output purposes. So you would not see all 3 of these as separate pieces when you did that output render. Let's see. So one of the other things is, I know we talked about the different types here. You can come down here and modify each of your tracks as well, as far as what type of settings they have. As you can see, the first one is standard. That's for both mono and stereo audio clips. So it would allow you to bring in either type of audio track to your Premiere Pro project. When you see 5.1, the best way to think about that is for surround sound mixing. So the theaters may utilize something of that sort. Adaptive is where it's in like real time and you need precise control of your audio channels at a specific point of transmission. So it's going to tell you like audio 3 will actually play on channel 5 and so forth. Most of the time it says that's used for multilingual broadcast TV. I have not really dealt a whole lot with adaptive. All right, the next one after that is mono, and that basically will only accept mono clips. So if you had a stereo clip, it wouldn't allow you to put it on audio track 1 if we chose mono. So it's going to control what you hear or see at that point. And there's also submixes of those as well. So you can come in here and customize that stuff in addition to your main mix. All right, go ahead and hit cancel. We don't want to do any changes here at this time.